Thanks, John. To answer your first question, yes, those are $2 bills in my hand. So back in October, it hit me. There were 3 terms that defined my adult life. They're hustler, hacker, and slacker. And I think it's important to be introspective and reflective as we get older and to learn what defines us and drives us and how we got to where we are in our life. And it allows us to connect the person that we are today with the person that we were in our younger days. And often we're looking for inspiration, and sometimes that inspiration can be best found within ourselves rather than looking outward. So I'm Paul. I'm a hustler, a hacker, and a slacker. I've always managed to hustle and hack my way into things no matter what my skill level, no matter what my education, and no matter what the odds are. And at the end of the day, I'm basically kind of a slacker because I like to enjoy a nice, casual, relaxed lifestyle. It's not so much about materialistic trappings for me because, let's be honest, at the end of the day, those things end up owning you. So these are my confessions and ramblings as an accidental entrepreneur. So to be frank with you, is most people, a lot of people I know, they had an idea of what they wanted to do at a very, very young age. For me, that wasn't the case. I had a few ideas, love to share with you. The first one was when I was 9, I thought I wanted to be a detective. They've got great mustaches, cool shirts, awesome car. And so my friend Mike and I put together detective kits and hung out at my grandparents' apartment complex and decided to come up with cases to solve. We really didn't solve any cases, actually got into trouble more than anything. Learned to pick locks. That's a good skill as a 9-year-old, but at the end of the day, ended up just getting in trouble and getting our parents called. But never did become a detective, but I had a chance to live out that dream when I was 24. My friend Tom was a detective for his brother, and he wanted to know if I would come along on a stakeout he was doing. He needed to catch a cheating husband in the act. I wasn't going to turn that down. Seemed like a pretty cool deal. So we hopped in the Chrysler Town and Country detective van. Kind of looks like the one here from the Black Keys album, but it was purple. So we drove, hung out at this parking lot across from the house, waited there for about 10 minutes, and guess what? We didn't bring the equipment. So we went back to his house, ended up getting caught up on something on the internet, and never went back, but for 10 minutes, I was a detective. So the next big dream I had, I was 13 years old. It's a dream that I'm sure most guys in this room had. I'm sure Sean Miller had that dream when he was 13. Isn't that right, Sean?
I was looking at the GI thing this time.
Well, okay.
I still want that car.
So I was 13, and from my brother's boombox, I heard Eddie Van Halen playing Eruption. I took that photo years later, but we'll talk about that later. And I thought, you know, that's pretty cool. I want to play guitar. So I asked my parents for my 14th birthday for a guitar. They were nice enough to get me a guitar, and little did they know for the next 5 or more years they'd have to struggle through listening to me playing loud guitar in my bedroom, in my basement. But they were very supportive, and they made sure that I got lessons. And but at a certain point, you know, here I am in California, back when I had hair. I still think I have those jeans somewhere in the back of some closet. So 5 years of guitar playing, and I kind of looked myself in the mirror and I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to become a rock star. This isn't going to happen for me. Took guitar lessons, and in and out of the music store I saw these guys who were 35, 40 years old, still trying to be rock stars. I said, you know what? I don't want that to be me. So I thought, hey, what else could I do that's going to make me pretty much zero money? Because I still think rock stars are cool. even though I'm not going to be a rock star. So Music Review magazine, which is now Review magazine here in town, this is the very first issue. Brian Edwards offered me money for it. I told him no. So I called up Review magazine. I talked to a guy named Bruce. KISS was coming to town. And I said, you know, I can get you an interview with Gene Simmons of KISS. And I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any connections. But you know what? I was going to hustle my way into making that happen. And within a few days, I was able to get an interview scheduled with Gene Simmons. So I remember back when I was a kid, my brother had the 8-track of Destroyer and wore that out. And so I thought, you know, it'd be the coolest thing in the world to talk to Gene. So day rolls around. I call Gene, picks up the phone. Sounds a little bit disgruntled, but if you've seen Gene Simmons' Family Jewels on A&E, you know how Gene is. So he could tell, you know, I'm 18 years old, a couple days away from graduating high school. He knew I was young, I was green. He had a bit of a field day with me. It was a hell of an intimidating experience. But I made it through it. I got the interview with Gene, wrote up the article, and ended up getting mercilessly hacked. But still, you know, I got an interview with Gene Simmons. It's pretty cool. So I figured, well, I got Gene Simmons. Who else could I get? Next to Eddie Van Halen, I thought Steve Vai was the coolest guitar player. He was going to be up at Valdu Lakes with Whitesnake. So I figured, well, I'm going to give it a shot, talk to Steve Vai. So I managed to make that happen. Oops, there's the Gene Simmons tape from 1990. I haven't listened to it again. I'm too fearful to listen to myself. Seems a little bit awkward, but Steve Vai ended up being on the cover of Music Review. So that time went much better. No nerves, no nothing. We had a great talk. I went on to interview probably about 150, 200 rock stars over a few years of Music Review. Gene Simmons, I interviewed him again. There's me with Gene. Nice mullet. And so that all was a lot of fun. I also ended up running Music Review for a few years until I was unfortunately fired, but nothing scandalous there. But the thing is when you're young, you take chances. I didn't know that it wasn't going to be an easy thing to get an interview with Gene Simmons or any of these people. I just rolled the dice. You're young, you're ballsy, you take chances. I also got into photography at that time because I was going to a lot of concerts, and going to the show was, you know, fun, but sometimes at some level was a little bit boring. So I thought, you know, when I was a teenager, I was always picking up these rock magazines, guitar magazines, and I enjoyed the photography. I thought, you know, maybe I can do that. So my dad gave me my uncle's Pentax camera, and I went to a few shows, and I was too dumb to know that you could be up by the stage to take pictures. And my first outings as a photographer, well, they weren't so good. I ended up with some underexposed pictures, but I kept plodding along. And I eventually got stuff that was worthy of being published, and REO Speedwagon. And so I took them, showed my dad, and he was very complimentary. That's my dad there. Now you can tell where I got the taste in pants from the first slide. So my dad was nice enough to buy me my very first camera, and as you can tell, he's kind of a conservative guy. Long-haired rocker dudes weren't his thing, but he knew that I had something, and he took the time to go through my pictures, and he told me something that stuck with me to this day. He said, you know what, you're going to write your own ticket. And that meant a lot to me. And it meant a lot to me even more a few weeks later, because he died of a heart attack that night. But that was something that stuck with me, and that I built upon as I became an adult. And as some of you probably know who are in the room, have gone through it. losing a parent, it sucks. Sucks more at a young age. It forces you to grow up in a hell of a hurry. And so I'm in my first year of college, with community college, and the only thing I'm getting an A in is switching majors. I switched from music to journalism to photography, and I realized, I don't think any of these things are really going to make me money. I was failing. The only thing I was skipping class and just kind of didn't give a shit. So fast forward a few months, I'm at Auburn Hills at a concert, band Rat, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to register for the next year of school, and like I said, I was bailing out pretty much, and I'm thinking to myself, what could I do that's going to make me money? And I think, well, business people make money. They have nice cars, they dress well. I never gave a thought about being a business person before. What the hell? So I decided to enroll in business classes, and next thing you know, I was getting A's and B's, something that I connected with. Never thought about going in that direction. I figured that all the other stuff that I was doing, whether it was music, whether it was photography, whether it was writing, I could do that stuff on my own. I wanted to build a base for myself. The next thing I kind of became enamored with once I started getting my act together was there was an infomercial guru, I'm sure you all saw, Tony Robbins. I was intrigued by this guy. He seemed like he knew the secrets to success, and I didn't have the money to buy the infomercial tape package he was hawking, so I figured, well, you kind of come up with ways to hack into things, hustle things, and so I went to the library and I recorded all of his tapes for free. And I took it upon myself to start getting my life in order, start setting goals, start getting myself on a path where I was going to be able to sustain myself for the future. The next business person that kind of caught my eye, and it seems like I watched a lot of infomercials, I don't know why, was a guy named Don Lapre, and he was talking about 1-900 numbers. And I remember seeing him in the back of Rolling Stone magazine for dating lines, for psychic lines. I thought, wow, these are pretty cool. I mean, people are probably making a killing doing this. But I can't afford to buy these. I can't afford the advertising. So sometimes you have to come up with a hack to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I figured, since I'm in a music magazine and they have advertising in there, maybe I could work a deal with a publisher. So I worked a deal with a publisher, and the next thing you know, I was able to get 900 numbers for free. I was in business for myself. I didn't plan to be a business person, but I just kind of accidentally fell into having a business. And within a few months, we were making a nice income on that. And it allowed me to kind of approach entrepreneurship from a kind of an unorthodox manner rather than your brick and mortar operation. But I was smart enough to know that I could put these things together for myself and be successful with it. And a few years later, unfortunately, I was fired from Music Review. I wish it was a scandalous tale. It was just simply a difference of opinion. But at the end of the day, I had a business, and I could continue on. So I was able to then afford advertising, able to keep myself stable, sustain myself. And the next thing you know, the internet comes along, which was a huge game changer around 1996. So I was able to keep things rolling for myself with the internet with that for a few years with dating lines. And then next thing you know, things make a drastic change. And I figured, well, how do you monetize things with the internet? And the search engines, and many of these are search engines that don't even exist anymore. But I had an understanding of how to work the search engines and to get traffic from the search engines. And there were a lot of businesses out there that wanted traffic. They had affiliate programs, so I was able to quickly figure out how to monetize that and make a sustainable living for myself off of that. So I was able to do that for quite a few months, and then I ran into my partner, who's my partner today, who's been a business partner of mine for about the last 16 years. His name is Jeff. And where I was able to handle marketing and promotions, and I was able to understand those things, he was on the technical end. And I think it's important to establish partnerships with folks and balance out yourself. And we were able to create a number of ways to automate things, to generate a large amount of traffic on the web, and to monetize that very quickly, and both make a nice lifestyle for ourselves. And we did that for probably about 6 years, but then the ground shifts, as it often does on the internet. It shifts quicker these days than it did back then. So we said, we've got all this stuff that we know, that we understand. How do we take that and move that to another level? So we created another business because we did software internally for ourselves, and we wanted to take what we knew and apply that, and we, instead of doing software for ourselves, said, well, what's an issue out there that people are having? And at that point, about 2002, 2003, spam was a pretty big deal. So we decided to start a software company, Spambly. We've been doing that for 10 years. So that way, we take all the traffic, we send it to ourselves, we basically sustain ourselves and have a consistent income. And so we were able to basically do something a little bit different. This is a monk, his name is Thomas Bayes, and he had a Bayes theorem, which is a little bit over my head, but my partner understands it more than I do. And as far as with Spambly, we created something that learned from people's email habits based on a theory of an 18th century monk who probably got little or no spam email. So because we did something a little bit different with that, word got around. We got a call from a guy over at Wired magazine, and once we finally got Spambly off the ground, we got a great review in Wired magazine, which led to us getting great reviews and mentions in places like USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Chicago Sun-Times, NBC. So it's important to be able to build upon what you had done in the past and realize how those things connect, and come up with ways to hack into things that are out there and to hustle yourself to make things happen for yourself, because if you don't do it, nobody else is. So, as I said before, my dad said to me that I would write my own ticket. That's something that stuck with me, and I very much feel that I've done that over the course of my life. And I never set out to be a businessman. I never set out to be an entrepreneur. It just sort of happened. I just sort of went with it. And I've realized over the last 20 years that my drives, my motivations have changed, whether they were in my 20s, 30s, or 40s. As I said, it's never been about materialistic trappings for me. It's been about having freedom. And as I say, kind of sometimes the freedom to be a slacker, to do what I want, have a casual lifestyle. The materialistic trappings are things that are going to end up owning you at the end of the day. And if you're able to sustain yourself, you can control the situation for yourself. So when you hit rough times, you're able to weather the storm and take care of yourself. And if you have a family, be able to take care of your family. Now, the other thing I realized along the way is to slow down and to maybe not be so focused on money. And one of the lessons I learned from that is I had a junior high teacher, English teacher, super great guy. His name is Eamon Bowe. And so I was about 28 years old. I was in D&W, went in there, grabbed some stuff real quick one night. I saw him at the end of the aisle, and I thought, I'm going to go say hi to him. I was in kind of a bad mood, so I was like, just grab my stuff, go on about my way. So, thought nothing of it. And about 2 weeks later, my mother calls me and said, wasn't this your English teacher? I just saw he died. So I felt really bad. I didn't take the time to go say hello to this guy and tell him what a great impact he had on me. You know, he was one of those teachers, I think everybody has anywhere from 3 to 5 teachers that really made an incredible impact on their life. And I felt bad that I didn't take the time to let him know what an incredible impact he made on my life. I think that he would have really enjoyed hearing that. So I took the time to go to the funeral home, to talk with his wife and kids, let them know what a special man he was, how much he impacted me. And I've always kept his memorial card with me on my desk to remind me to go out of my way to take opportunities that I might not otherwise take. It's been a great reminder for the last 14 years for me. And we're all going to have regrets, things that we missed out on, things that we didn't do. And you know, you can't go back, you can't change those things, but you can do things differently going forward. Another English teacher of mine who made an impact on me, her name is Maria Wittes. Unfortunately, she had a stroke a couple of years ago. I took the time to go see her with a few classmates, to go visit her. And it was an incredible evening, you know, just reconnecting with her, seeing how she was doing. And, you know, it was something that was a very special night for all of us. And as I said, you have regrets, you can't change what you did in the past, but going forward, you can do things differently. And so I think that that's important, and that's something that's always stuck with me. I think it's important to pay attention to the landscape of your life and what these things mean to you and what you should do differently going forward. As I've gotten into my 30s and 40s, I've learned to reconnect with the things that gave me passion in my late teen years, in my early 20s. 2010, I got back into doing photography. A lot of you might be familiar with the stuff that I do for GR now. That's something that I've really enjoyed doing. And so now I have, you know, photography not only with GR now, but with a place called Rock Paper Photo in New York, who represents a number of photographers that I looked up to when I was growing up. So I think that reconnection is a very important thing as you move along the journey in your life. The other thing I enjoyed was always doing interviews with rock stars, but I decided I wanted to kind of reconnect with that a little bit differently. I started doing a radio show for about a year back in 2012, 2013 called Sunday Morning Town Square. Allowed a lot of local business people, music makers, artists to basically showcase what it is they do to a local radio audience. So that was a great way to reconnect with that. So I think it's important as you get to your late 30s, 40s, and on, to look back on your life and know why you've done what you've done, and be reflective and be introspective. And a friend of mine on Facebook posted something a couple months ago. It said, if you could go back and visit your 18-year-old self, what would you say? And I would tell my 18-year-old self not to listen to my 41-year-old self. It should be the other way around. You should be taking advice from your 18-year-old self to get hustling, get hacking, and get yourself moving and drive yourself towards things and getting yourself out of your comfort zone. And because I think we become too resistant, too jaded as we get older. And at the end of the day, you know, to just be more relaxed, to loosen up, and if you want to just be a slacker, be a slacker. Thank you.